All right, so what I want to talk about today is how to write your own study guide and how to do that so that in a successful way. So basically, we're going to use that page that's at the front of the unit that we did the practice questions from in the last unit. Right, and so each of those have our concept objectives, vocab, practice questions. So basically, you need to look at the objectives. If they are in italics, so if they're like slanted like this, those are just skills that you need to be able to do. You don't necessarily need to write anything for these on your study guide, but you need to be able to do those things on your test. So still include them on there, like still copy them down so you make sure that you know how to do that skill. And any notes you need to go with those would be perfectly fine. So you should try to include like organizers, tables, other visuals that will be helpful instead of just like writing out paragraphs of information, because it's really hard to just like look back at a bunch of words. Like you need to like kind of abbreviate and shorten things and condense it so that it's easier for you to study from. So like if you have to compare and contrast something, like think about doing it as a Venn diagram or make a table. Think of analogies and hints, examples, things that are going to help you remember the material better. So like for this one, they were talking about the difference between dependent and independent variables, right? So they came up with this analogy, right? So they were thinking dependent, it's the effect, so it's what's being measured. It's the response to what you change. So it's DRY, dependent, response to what's being changed on the y-axis. And then the independent is manipulated, so we're changing that. That's what we're testing. So it's being manipulated, it's independent, and it's on the x-axis. If you want to type these, you can. Or if you're going to make flashcards on Quizlet, like make sure you print them out or send me the link to what you made so that I can see that you did those vocab words. I think it would still be helpful for you guys to write them out in some way, but I just need to be able to see that you have somehow typed or written out all of the vocab words somewhere with their definitions. Then you need to answer all the practice questions. So these are samples of types of questions that'll be on the test. So you need to make sure and work out all of those problems neatly. So again, this study guide needs to be neat, right? You need to make it neat and tidy and easy to read so that stuff is picked out. You should be highlighting, bolding, underlining stuff, right? Don't just write a bunch of words on paper and leave it. Like highlight the vocab words, make stuff stand out so that it's visually appealing for you and it's easy for you to see and study from. Right, this last part again was any italicized objectives or skills. You don't need to write anything for these on your study guide, but again, you need to make sure that you can do them on the test. All right, so the more effort and time you put into this, the better it's going to be for you. So today, what I want you guys to do is I want you to start working on your study guide for concept 1. So write out all your vocab words, start answering your practice questions, make it neat, make it pretty, right? You can type it if you want. You don't have to. You can write it on a sheet of paper, highlight it, do what you need to do for that, right? So then I'll have you guys turn in those concept 1 and 2 study guides. We're going to be working on these throughout the week. That way I can look over them and make sure that you've got everything you need. And then we will also use a PowerPoint like we did last time, and we will check these study guides together in class as well. So I want to make sure we have plenty of time to go over them together once we're back in person. So please make sure that you are really working on these this week. Right, so again, this is what it looks like. So if you look here, right, for concept 1, our objectives are italicized. So that means you don't necessarily need to write anything for these, but these are 2 things you need to be able to do on your test. So like you need to be able to describe the motion of objects that are depicted in graphs, right? So like those distance versus time graphs, or your velocity versus time graphs, right? Although really that's in this one. So distance versus time graphs, right? And so you need to be able to analyze those graphs and explain what information you see in them. All right, and so we have all of these vocab words that you need to write out and define. And then you have all of these practice questions that you need to answer for Concept 1. So today, you just need to be working through Concept 1 study guide. So write out your vocab words, do your practice questions. Again, make it neat, right? It's okay if you type it. Although, when you have to, like, solve things, like, so for this one and this one here, you actually have to, like, I want to see the work for the problem. So if you're going to type it, you need to either on a separate sheet of paper or somehow write out those problems and show me how you're solving them. You can't really type that. So again, make them neat. If you have questions, please reach out. I'm happy to help you guys. You just need to let me know. All right, so today's assignment is to work on your Concept 1 study guide like this. All right, and then tomorrow we'll do Concept 2. Okay, so today is Concept 1.